this year we've had some really nasty goals, right? I think of McDavid every time he seems to touch the ice, but mainly the one on, the one thing it was the 1-on-4 against the Rangers, was it?
Yep.
And then Trevor Zegras. I love how no one calls it the Sonny Milano goal. It is it's the Trevor Zegras assist, or the Trevor Zegras. Obviously,
the flying Z.
Yeah, the flying Z. Yeah. He fakes the Michigan and instead throws it over the net, and then Sonny Milano puts it in. So John Tortorella on ESPN had a little bit to say about that, and I'm going to play you guys some audio, and we can sort of dissect it. It shows that I can share the sound.
Yeah.
So here we go. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And of course, it's not working again. Okay, hold on. Oh no, I can't even go full screen because it's not working. Okay, hold on a minute. This is a bit of a mess. We're gonna go to 47 seconds. Okay, here it is.
It's cool, it's cool to watch and all that, but I'm not so sure it's good for the game, and I stand by that.
50 million views is a lot to see it online.
Well, it's not even. It's the goal is amazing, right? I mean, you said the fact that they've actually said that. Like I have, kids in that coach in high school that they want me to drop plays off the faceoff so they can try to score a goal like that, to score the Michigan goal. But for him to be a rookie to actually try that in a game as a rookie, you would never even thought about doing something.
Okay, before we keep going here, guys, can we just? I think unanimously, we can agree the Trevor Zegras goal was nasty, right? It's great. It's good for. We can agree it's good for hockey, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Why would you say it's good for hockey, guys? Alex, we'll go Daniel because you are the Ducks fan here. What was so cool about the Trevor Zegras goal? Let me ask you that. Why? What was so good about it?
I don't know, for me, it's just kind of like, I think on two levels. From, I guess, the team level, it's just, we talked about it for 2 years, the Ducks not really doing much. And then it looks like they're, quote unquote, having fun again, where they have the confidence to do these types of things in games. And I think for the second thing for the NHL is just, I don't know, it's just another layer to it. If that makes sense, where you're just trying to open up the game like that, like make it more exciting. That I think the biggest thing for me was the media reaction, where you see a lot of guys where I think believe it was Michael B. Jordan who said, like the actor, that not the player, that he's like, I'm not much of a hockey guy, but that was a crazy goal. I'm misquoting him. But again, it's just another example of it's such a subtle thing that they were able to do to make it a huge thing, that it shows that, look, if you market hockey properly, if you're not trying to make it a way that you say that, people who are in the game only know the game, then more people will be willing to say, okay, maybe I should give this a chance.
Okay, Alex, before I keep going here, because there's a reason I'm asking this, and Tortorella is about to lose a lot of people here. Daniel mentioned fun, people outside the game seeing it. What?
Yeah.
Add to that, please.
Yeah, no, I just think I look at how in recent years, a lot of sports have transitioned to marketing skill, whether that's basketball, whether that's football, whether that's soccer, whether that's like the only one I can think of off the top of my head that doesn't do it is maybe Formula One, but that's because it's different. Like it's hard to explain that skill and hard to advertise it in a way because it's just driving, but it's more complicated than that. This is fun. This is skill. This is literally skill. There's no other way of saying it. So for him to say something like that, I think is just incorrect. Like it's not like I see it as that's not right, because all these other leagues are moving towards, okay, marketing skill. Great. Advertise the big hit here or there, but that's not clearly what's going to draw in. I don't think that's what's going to draw in as many new fans as it would.
I'm going to use one example I have here. And I just thought of it now when Alex mentioned something about drawing in new fans. A big thing, and I think that it depends on when the game is going, right? It was during the game, but it was still something that it was a skill play. And I'm going to use it one example of Vince Carter. What do we remember him with? We remember the windmill dunk. That's technically like not the most necessary thing you have to have in a game, but it's something that it still brings in a lot of joy to fans. It still brings in something where, yeah, number one, he scored. And number two, it just adds like excitement to the game. It adds something where it's just, hey, even if you're not watching the game fully, we're still going to give you this highlight.
Okay, and this is the part that Tortorella, because so far all Tortorella has said is that it's fun. The dog is I'm gonna lose it. And the guys resting are saying, yeah, it's good, it's good. All these views, it's good for the game. Okay, so here's the bad part from Tortorella.
What would you have said if they were on your team and they did that?
Yeah, I'd have a talk with the people. I would after the game. And again, I'm not trying to be difficult about it. It's fun to watch. It's really cool, but I just think I think our game has gone so far away from what the game should be. A hard game, an honest game, and it's almost gotten too showman. I know you need to have it. You need to sell the game, but I'm just, I'm from the ilk of it's still a hard game to play, and a good, honest hockey game needs to be played. I think some of this stuff here, we get carried away.
But that's
Okay, that's the big stuff I wanted to mention. Okay, so here's the big problem, right? Okay, first off, correct me if I'm wrong here. Tortorella won a cup in
2004.
early 2004. Okay.
Right before the lockout.
What exactly? There we go. So, who were some of the great teams early in like that era? We can think of like late '90s, early 2000s. There were the Devils, who the sort of their super defensive nearly kind of killed the game, and everyone we try to avoid the dead puck era. Who are some of those other teams? I'm thinking Colorado are in there.
Yeah, that was before the salary cap, so they still had like all their Hall of Famers.
Yeah, but. You had Joe Sakic, you had Peter Forsberg and all that. Super high skilled players, right?
That was the year, one thing. That was the year Colorado, because it's after Patrick Law retired.
Yeah.
This was the year they stacked everything. So they had Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg, Milan Hajduk, Alex Tanguay, and then they signed Paul Kariya and Teemu Selanne to like budget contracts. And then they still had like Adam Foote, Rob Blake.
Okay, so you mentioned Teemu Selanne, for example, right? No one remembers Teemu Selanne throwing a punch or something, right? He's the flying Finn. He scores a lot of goals. He's good at it, right? It is such backward thinking from John Tortorella here that what do we know his sort of style of coaching? Low event hockey, defense first, capitalize on the opposition making a mistake, and that boring hockey. Teams with lackluster roster play that type of hockey. I think the Islanders. I think, again, back in the day, I shouldn't insult the Devils like that because they had some pretty good players, but we think of some Guy Boucher teams like the Sens and their 1-3-1 run to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2017. I would so much rather market the game around Connor McDavid going 1v4 and guys and Trevor Zegras making plays that we haven't seen since Pavel Datsyuk. Then, oh god, here's Jacob Trouba concussing two people in the multiple days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I say it's just kind of ridiculous to hear. It's an honest game. An honest game?
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Like blue collar, working hard, blocking shots. Trevor Zegras doesn't need to do that.
Okay,
that's why Line didn't work. By the way,
can I just say he goes? Well, we need to go back to an honest game. For those of you who haven't seen the Frank Corrado on SDP yet, he said, Babcock used to say he needs to be a good family man, or he come from a good family. What does that mean? Like, how is that? What does that mean? What does an honest hockey game mean? Like, I don't know what that means. That's irrelevant to me until you clarify what that means.
All right, I have two things. So the first thing is, when I think about John Tortorella, I think he's been a great coach. I think he's a great hockey mind. But when I think about what he talks about, like, I'm an old-time hockey guy, it's like, okay, you want to go, like, and I think of Carlo Koliakovo's tweet, where it's like, do you want to go back to like the max salary being $2 million a year for like a star player? Do you want to see that like the sport isn't growing as you want it to be? Because I don't think that a sport like this could survive like that. And I think the second thing is, when we think about fundamentals, when we think about flash, why can't we have both? I think and I use this so many times. I think about basketball. I'm going to use the most extreme example right here. I'm going to think about the 90s Bulls, the Chicago Bulls. They had Phil Jackson and they had Tex Winter, who's an assistant coach, who they modeled the triangle offense, which was like the most fundamental type of plays you can have in basketball. So the fundamentals are there and it's the hard work, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you have Michael Jordan. You have this guy doing like these crazy dunks, doing these crazy plays. And listen, like no one's taking away from the fact that they're saying like, oh, there's too much flash in the game. There's too much that, we're not going back to just, passing the ball around and we're just shooting the ball. We're not playing old fashioned great basketball. No one ever thought that.
Here's where I'll disagree with John Tortorella about it's too flashy. Has he watched an overtime period in the last 3 years? 90% of them are boring.
Yeah,
Like we get the occasional one where, Toronto versus Minnesota, or there was a couple games Montreal played where it was kind of interesting. I don't remember which ones off the top of my head.
You're probably thinking of another team because remember the live match. But the wild ones when coaches, their claws are sort of taken out.
Right. Like the majority of them are boring.
Yeah.
And they were implemented to make it a little more interesting than 5-on-5 for 5 minutes and whatever that came out. So I'd have to disagree with him there.
What I don't like is, and I didn't mean to close the clip, I forgot that in those last kind of 11 seconds, one of the guys on the panel says, it brings new fans in. And Tortorella, I think you can kind of tell the backwards thinking because he said, yeah, but you'll lose some fans. Now, so one of my favorite things to watch, obviously, is Kitchen Nightmares. And Gordon Ramsay has a very simple philosophy. And whenever owners are like, oh, I don't want to make a change because I don't want to... Carrie, please stop. Please go lie down, dog. They will not want to lose their current old patronage and all that because, that's the one business we have. And those owners will get stuck in their old ways and your business is going to die. If you adapt and go for a younger audience, that's how you that's how you thrive. And what the NHL need to realize is younger fans like us want skill. No one, listen, I love seeing a good fight once in a while, but if I had to choose between getting rid of fighting and, being able to pass the puck forward, guess what? Later fighting, I want to see deeks in that. I could care less about defensive first, grindy out hockey. It's boring. It's absolutely boring. Listen, the Habs play the defensive first structure in the playoffs. I enjoyed the winning. Do you remember how boring that Jets series was?
Yeah.
It was awful. And it didn't work at the end of it because they got spanked by Tampa. You know what I mean? It's that complete. You can have a complete game, but you need a bit of zest. You need to grow the game. And guys like Trevor Zegras and that, they're seriously, they're inventing new ways to score. A fake Michigan. The only time I think we've ever seen that is when I want to say Sid faked out and tried to do a backhander or something, or someone tried to do that.
Oh, that was Ryan Donato. Yeah,
Donato. But Zegras fakes it and does like an alley-oop pass. That's so creative and just so cool. Again, like I said, we haven't seen a play like that since Datsuk. Remember when Datsuk used to on that string far side flip or his slow-mo flip over that he used to pull out? That's what I miss.
No, I think you make a really good point there about how the NHL or the people within it are so afraid of change that they're still worried about losing the fans that they currently have, that they're not willing to take a single risk to bring in new fans. And I think, I don't know if you guys saw Forbes released their annual valuations of each team last week. They also had projected HRR, hockey-related revenue value, hockey-related revenue. They said, and Bettman confirmed this, that the expectation is they're going to hit around $5 billion this year, which is a lot of money, right? The NBA, who everyone loves to use as a comparison, which is beyond me, but the NBA hit $5 billion in basketball related revenue 10 years ago, or about. Like, we are far behind the NBA in any category, I'd argue. So I think the owners, or we as hockey fans, have to realize that things are going to change, and we have to be willing to take more risks to bring in new fans. I don't think John Tortorella is right in saying that they're going to lose all these fans. I don't think that's true. I think you're going to lose a fan here, a fan there, the same way that CBC and Sportsnet lost a few fans here or there when they fired Don Cherry. I'd say let's go look at last year's ratings with the All-Canadian division. The positives in this case heavily outweigh the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what matters.